Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is the long-awaited third gen of the Toyota Tundra full-size pickup truck. And this is the TRD Pro off-road trim with a twin-turbo V6 hybrid powertrain under the hood and additional off-road goodies. Is this the best off-road pickup you can get? Stay tuned to find out. So yes, this is the third generation of the Toyota Tundra. The last new Toyota Tundra that we got was in 2007. So this 2022 model is a really big deal. Toyota hasn't changed much in a very long time, so to get an all-new Tundra is huge news. It was just 1 year ago right now that I was able to see this vehicle for myself in the flesh for the very first time at the State Fair of Texas. Actually, it was the first time anybody out in the public was able to see one of these vehicles for themselves because it was its first public appearance. Here, 1 year later, actually getting to drive it, I can tell you it is actually quite good. And the looks on it, while initially very polarizing, even to me, I have really come to appreciate the kind of out-of-the-box styling Toyota has brought here on the 2022 Toyota Tundra. This being the TRD Pro model, you get a little more aggressive front end than you do on any others. You get Toyota spelled out in this heritage grille here with marker lights across the top and here on the sides of the wheel wells on the fender flares. You do get quad element LED headlights, LED DRLs, and LED sequential turn signals up front and in the back. You do get a massive grille here that lets a lot of air in to the twin turbo V6. We'll get to that in a little bit. An LED light bar for off-roading that only works when your high beams are illuminated, and then you get LED fog lights right here down at the lower part of the grille. This, unfortunately, is all plastic, as is the first point of contact all the way up under here. You do get a TRD skid plate down low, but there is a lot of plastic on this very long schnoz. Just something to consider if you plan on taking your pickup truck off-road. There's a lot of plastic up here. I will note that these side inlets here do actually feed air in to the front, letting you get air into that twin turbo V6. Speaking of that twin turbo V6, it is very easy to get to under this hood that is hydraulically supported as you lift it up, but you can see iForce Max here under the hood, under this plastic engine cover. But you see, you do have two air intakes here and two different cleanable TRD Pro air filters, so you can rest assured that the engine is getting plenty of air from this massive grille and from those side vents underneath the headlights. In fact, this is the most powerful version of the twin turbo V6 in the Toyota Tundra. This iForce Max makes 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. It does run on 87 octane, and it is, as I mentioned earlier, a parallel hybrid system with an electric motor sandwiched in between the engine and the 10-speed automatic transmission. That electric motor makes 48 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque, and it is powered by a 1.87 kilowatt-hour battery hidden underneath the rear seats, eliminating your rear under-seat storage there. So just something to consider if you are shopping for the iForce Max. This is the only powertrain offered in the TRD Pro, so something to consider. Moving around the corner up front, you get TRD Pro badging here on the hood, wider fender flares with this camo texture that is repeated from that front bumper, and moving down you get 33-inch tall Falcon Wild Peak tires that are very aggressively treaded for some off-road duty, wrapped around 18-inch BBS forged TRD Pro wheels. Back behind them you get 2.5-inch Fox internal bypass reservoir coilover shock suspension, and it makes for a very confident ride up front. And yes, you get a bright red TRD Pro stabilizer bar up front as well. All of that hidden behind that big TRD Pro skid plate and these 18-inch wheels and 33-inch tall tires. Moving to the side profile of this very large truck, you really get to take in the solar octane orange paint job on this TRD Pro. It is exclusive to the TRD Pro line and really stands out whether you are on the trail or going down the road to the trail. I really like it. It definitely pops and stands out. You do get a blacked out pillar here between the windows and between the window and the front windshield, giving you a nice clean blacked out view of the windows here. Although I will say these are decals, and I wonder how they will wear over time. It's not actually hard plastic or anything like that. It's more of a wrapped vinyl appearance, just something to take note of. You do get black mirror caps, very chiseled wheel arches, both front and rear, that really give this a very stout, muscular appearance when looking at it from the side. And then, yes, moving back to the rear tires, you do get an upgraded suspension there. No longer is this a leaf sprung rear suspension. You do get outboard mounted Fox shocks with external reservoirs and a multi-link suspension with coil springs and twin tube shock absorbers. It is a very nice system and is one of the better riding full-size pickup trucks on the market. I really like that we're finally getting away from leaf springs and going to something a little more modern. Hopping in the Tundra TRD Pro at 5'10", I've found myself using this handle more often than not because there are no running boards and you do get an extra 1.1 inches of lift up front. But once you get in here, it is a cockpit. Everything is right where the driver would need it and is very focused. You get a digital information screen here behind the steering wheel with everything from your fuel economy, a large front and center digital analog tach, if that makes sense, surrounding a digital speedometer. Down below that, you have all your driver aids and the status there. And to the right, you get two dials for your iForce and your Max. The iForce is your turbo speed, Max is that hybrid powertrain, and the battery status there. So very good layout back there. A lot going on, but when you really stop and look at it, you get your temperature, your time, and all the necessary information at a quick glance. No heads-up display in this TRD Pro model. Moving over here, we'll get to that screen in a little bit, but right here, you do not get a dual glove box setup like you do in some of the domestic counterparts. And that is a little bit to the detriment of the storage in here, but Toyota has figured that out in other places. This is a very nice soft touch material right here. I would say it is the same seating material, and we'll get into that in just a moment. The TRD Pro model gets Toyota spelled out here, just so they don't forget what they are riding in. You get this nice texture right here behind it. Very cool. Two very prominent air conditioning vents right there as well. And then moving to the seats. These are actually Softex synthetic leather seats. They are not actually real leather, but they do a good job of fooling anyone who may not know. This being a TRD Pro model, you get TRD Pro embroidered just under the headrest on the backrest here, and then the perforations reveal a very interesting digital camo pattern underneath. It's very subtle. It actually pops more on camera than it does here in person. You have to see it at just the right angle for it to really catch your eye, but it looks really cool. Plenty of storage here in the center, Qi wireless charging for any size phone. Very good center console here with multiple different positions and all kinds of storage here for the driver and passenger. Multi-level storage here on the doors with two cup holders down in the lower pockets, two dual level cup holders up front that do a good job of holding your beverages here. And then with this tray slid back in the center console, you do actually get a movable little plastic piece that actually does divide off this front section to be a cup holder for large bottles or travel mugs when this little slider is open. So very interesting and unique storage options here. But I really want to talk about this giant screen. There is a lot that can be done from the screen. This is one of the first implementations of Toyota's in-house technology built right in, and this is the largest implementation of Apple CarPlay I have ever seen. Takes up the full screen and I absolutely love it. If you want to get into the Toyota infotainment piece of it, you simply hit that button and you can see we've got different settings that we can go through. We can see what the vehicle's doing, what your fuel economy is, trip information, different stuff there. You can clear it, update it, get into your vehicle settings, and all of that different stuff right there of modern vehicles. You can set different driver profiles. All that can be configured here in the screen. But with it being Apple CarPlay, again, you get this massive screen. Then you have this camera button right here that when you're parked does a 360 perimeter scan using all of the cameras mounted all around this pickup truck. But if you don't like that, you can pause it and do different things there. You can actually even customize the color of your pickup truck there. Oddly enough, I can't get the Solar Octane Orange on this one, so that's not my favorite thing. But if you are actually in gear and hit the camera button, then you have access to the front-facing camera, the bird's eye 360, all good angles right here. But if you are off-roading, there's actually an off-road camera mode, which I absolutely love, because here in drive, you can see both of my front wheels and tires, and here in the center section, I actually get a display on the camera exactly where my wheels and tires are going to end up if I continue with the wheel turned the way that I have it. Get your pitch and roll down here. And then I can actually see behind me as well and see my rear tires. All kinds of really good camera modes here. I especially like this version right here because this uses the camera and the memory to make my truck essentially invisible after rolling in it just a little bit, because it remembers what the camera saw as I was driving and now puts that underneath so that I don't even have a black spot where my truck was. I know exactly what I've already driven over. It's a pretty neat feature as well. And then you can see a full view back behind you for, you know, when you're backing up. It is a very wide fish angle lens, so there is a little distortion here, especially out on the perimeters, but all around a pretty good camera. And I really like the camera systems here with this massive touchscreen that is actually very quick and responsive all the way around. All your climate controls are right here. I will say, due to the overhang on the screen in certain lighting conditions, it's really hard to see. This is driver's side, passenger side temperature control, automatic fan speed, manual fan speed, sync, and your mode buttons right there. Buttons down here, however, are very easy to read. You have 3-position heated seat, 3-position ventilated seat, and I absolutely love that Toyota remembers that you had these on even if you cycle the engine off and back on. I absolutely love that. Because this one is the iForce Max hybrid, even when the engine is off but the vehicle is running, the AC works at full force, including these ventilated seats. Moving down here, you have your tow haul button, your camera view button, traction control, hazard button, locking rear differential, and then a couple of blank switches that I would hope you can put some aftermarket items onto at a later date, but they seem pretty fixed in place. Moving down, you have your Qi wireless charging pad right here. That frankly is not the best. A small bump will knock that off from charging and is not my favorite, but it is wide enough to have 2 phones charging side by side, even with this iPhone 12 Pro Max. And there are nice little cutouts here so that you can actually have it plugged in if you'd like while you've got it charging back there. I really like that a whole lot. This does have a USB-A and USB-C port down here in the center console, so you can charge it however you like. Down here you have your drive mode switch and your 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low drive mode right here to the left, and then your gear selector up front here. Electronic parking brake with an electronic hold button. Right over my right knee, just under the red TRD Pro start button, you get your trailer brake control here with the gain slider. Not the best position for it, just because it can be hidden and obstructed back behind the steering wheel, but given the layout of everything else in here, it's a pretty good placement for it. Getting into the back seat of the TRD Pro, again at 5'10", I find myself using this handle no running boards, but it is a very comfortable seating position. I have a very nice angle to the backrest here, and I can get very comfortable. It is stadium style seating. I am sitting behind myself at 5'10", and I can see over the headrest and out the windshield very nicely. Plenty of legroom back here, even though this generation lost about an inch over the previous generation. Get 2 map pockets back here, a couple cup holders on the back of the center console, couple of air vents, no additional controls back here, a USB-A and USB-C port, as well as a household style power outlet. And a very interesting thing here in the full-size segment, the center seat does not have a flat load floor, so you do get a center tunnel here, which puts your knees up a little bit higher when you slide into this position, and then you really notice the reduced headroom from the panoramic sunroof back here in the center seat. This isn't the best riding position for any passenger back here, but it is wide enough that you really won't be bumping too many elbows or shoulders along the way. This one, being the TRD Pro, does get these rubber floor mats front and rear with a tire tread pattern across them. It is very nice. And then same synthetic leather seating back here with the perforations. No ventilation back here though, so there is a little bit less luxuries back here in the back. Hopping out and lifting the seat bottom up, you can see there is actually no additional storage, because this is where Toyota stores the battery for the hybrid system in here. So if you're looking for just tons and tons of interior storage, you're not going to find it here on the hybrid version, the iForce Max. If you want underfloor storage, you're going to have to go to the less powerful gas-only engine. So even though you don't get underfloor storage here on the 60/40 split bench seat in the iForce Max models, you do get something in the Toyota Tundra that you don't get in many other pickup trucks or any other full-size pickup trucks. You fold the headrest there, and you can actually fold the seat back down to give you a flat-ish floor here, but that exposes a little bit of extra storage back here in the back, and you even get hooks on the back of the bulkhead right here for grocery bags. So if you wanted to fold the full seat down, you can see that's where the JBL subwoofer is behind the driver's side, but you actually could use this for some grocery storage if you are grocery shopping, and then flip this forward. This is actually the place as well for the rear tether, the top tether for a child seat. If you want to see what it's like installing a child seat here in the 2022 Toyota Tundra, go check out our family review, which will be dropping later this week. Be sure and subscribe. Moving back to the business end of this Tundra, you can really see Toyota wants everyone on the road behind you or the trails behind you to know you got the TRD Pro version. I will note this is not an aluminum tailgate like all the other domestic full-size vehicles. This is a full-strength tailgate, which is probably why they chose to stamp TRD Pro here versus in the bed rails, which are space-saving or weight-saving aluminum. So just an interesting touch here on the TRD Pro. You do get sequential 3-bar tail lights here on the back with turn signals, and then you get more of that textured camo look all around. Your marker lights up here on the back, and then a very nifty feature for dropping the tailgate. If your hands are full, you just hit the side button here on the driver's side tail light, and that drops the tailgate down. Moving into the bed, you get a first for the Tundra. Stealing from the smaller Tacoma, you get an aluminum composite bed here in the back of the 22 Tundra. It is aluminum composite and is very high strength and has been tested and proven in the Tacoma, so they brought it here to the Tundra for, again, weight savings. Where you've got Ford going all aluminum, Toyota has gone with this composite that again has been tested over the years. Our version does have a rubber bed mat, but you can see the lower portion is textured while the sides are smooth. You do get a 110 power outlet back here in the back, but it's nothing like Ford's Pro Power on board. You do get different spots for dividers here in the tailgate. Our version has adjustable tie downs on these bed rails here, LED lights on the sides, LED cab lights up here on the back, as well as your two cameras, one facing in the bed so that you can see what's going on back here while you're driving, and one for that rear view camera mirror on the inside. Very interesting thing here on a full-size pickup truck. You've got vortex generators here on the plastic bed caps and here on the sides of the tail lights as well. Very interesting fuel-saving technology on a very large full-size pickup truck. Getting in the Toyota Tundra and starting it up, pushing the red TRD button, you get a very cool animation of several different national parks back here in the main gauge cluster. Then you get your typical Toyota warnings up front here. Drive safely, obey all traffic laws, the like. But actually getting in, putting it into gear and setting off is very interesting because of that iForce Max powertrain. When you actually start this up, you don't necessarily always hear the engine roar to life because it can start up in full hybrid mode. In fact, even driving around town or through perhaps, I don't know, a drive-through, you can creep at low speeds without that 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 ever even coming on. But when it does, you get some piped in engine noise through the JBL sound system here in this TRD Pro model, and that can't be turned off. The only way to get away from that piped in engine noise is to cruise at low speeds with the engine not even running. Here in this TRD Pro model, it's a little befitting of how loud, especially this solar octane model is. It's very loud visually, and in here, very loud audibly as well. Getting out and driving, did mention this is a 10-speed automatic mounted to that electric motor mounted to the twin turbo V6. All that piped together means that, again, you get a very responsive powertrain in this TRD Pro model with the iForce Max. Over 400 horsepower, over 500 pound-feet of torque mean this is a very quick pickup truck as well, which hides a little bit of how big this vehicle is. We recently tested the Ford F-150 Lightning. This isn't that quick. In fact, I may have even found one here in town to race against, and this one couldn't keep up. But as far as gas-powered full-size pickups go, it's rather quick. It'll move down the road, no problem. And the JBL sound system will let you know that the engine is working. Cruising down the road though, those Falcon Wild Peak tires are a little noisy. You can hear them. It is a little bit of the trade-off for the off-road appeal of this TRD Pro model, but otherwise it is a very quiet ride here in the 22 Tundra TRD Pro. The rear coil suspension helps soak up bumps like leaf springs never could. This is one of the better riding full-size pickup trucks on the market. I would put the F-150 Lightning right there with it because it has an independent rear suspension, whereas this one, as most full-size pickup trucks do, has a solid live rear axle back there in the back. All of the TRD Pro goodness in this one, meant to soak up bumps off-road, do help soak up some bumps on road. And while this does feel like a very large pickup truck, especially climbing into it, it doesn't necessarily drive like one. At just over 48 feet turning radius, it is rather large to turn around in circles, but as far as its driving characteristics and dynamics, you can pilot it around town without much muss or fuss. It is a very easy vehicle to poke around town in, even though it may not be most people's first choice. Seat comfort, as I mentioned during the interior portion, is rather good. I absolutely love that these are ventilated and that the ventilation remembers that you had it turned on no matter how many times you turn the engine off and back on. Here in East Texas, even late September, early October, it is still quite warm here, and having those ventilated seats truly does help the livability of this version, and is one of the benefits of getting the TRD Pro versus some lower trims and offering them and optioning them up with the TRD off-road package. Something to consider when shopping this, because not a lot on this can't be had on lower trims, and this one does command a rather large price tag over some of the other models. Just under $70,000, this one really is fully loaded as it sits. There really aren't many options for the TRD Pro model. You get what you get. You get to pick your colors both inside and outside. This has the black interior, but if you were to get, say, a white exterior color, you could get red Syntex seating inside, which really makes a statement for you and your passengers. But I really prefer the Solar Octane Orange on this one to let everyone know on the road and on the trails that I have the TRD Pro version, because again, this is a exclusive color for the TRD Pro. Getting this on some East Texas back roads, the steering, well, it's a truck and it drives like a truck. It's not sports car quick, but it definitely gives you confidence when turning down the road, even at speed. Again, this does not drive as big as it really is. Full-size pickup trucks have gotten very large over the years, and this one does a very good job of hiding its heft and size with the powertrain and with the steering, for sure. Yes, I really love this pickup truck, but what is it like off-road? I did have an opportunity to take this to Barnwell Mountain here in East Texas, just outside of Gilmer, Texas, for a little off-road fun, and I really had a lot of fun in this pickup truck. I was surprised, however, with the very low approach and departure angles on this pickup truck. That is the top trim off-road version. I expected a little bit more, and well, let's go into just a little bit of that detail. So let's talk about that approach angle just a little bit. For those of you unaware, the approach angle is measured from the contact patch of the tire to the lowest point up front here, which is just over 26 degrees. It is nothing spectacular. In fact, a Kia Seltos crossover has a better approach angle than this Toyota Tundra does, and I attribute that to all this plastic up front here on the front end of it. It's a while before you actually get to that TRD skid plate under the front. And thanks to that long overhang, the same is true here of the rear departure angle at just over 24 degrees. Again, a Kia Seltos has a better departure angle than this full-size pickup truck. And with the overall size of this vehicle, if you really intend on taking this off-road on trails or over hills and valleys, this may not be the best model for you. And you may want to consider something more in the midsize segment in the Tacoma, or even the very competent Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. So this is where I absolutely love the camera system in this Tundra TRD Pro. You can see the full 180 field of view up in front of me. You can see both of my front tires, my pitch and roll here. This camera system is amazing and utilizes this 14-inch screen oh so well. This trail is pretty tight, but I think this TRD Pro can handle it no problem. Oh yeah. Well, here we go. We're gonna drive up this cliff.
Whoa!
Can you believe it?
Yep. It feels that it's really strong.
It feels like it's really strong?
Yes!
Yeah, this truck is really strong. Make sure I dodge. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, that was nothing. Tucker, what do you think of some of these hills?
I don't like these heels because they just tipped my head and I still have water in my mouth and I just made a funny noise.
Yeah?
So, no.
No, you don't like these hills?
Nope.
Sitting in my ventilated seats, air conditioner doing its thing. This thing is very, very fun. out here at Barnwell. Yes, when a crossover, especially something like a Kia Seltos compact crossover, has better approach and departure angles than an off-road build pickup truck, it really makes you wonder, what are the real intentions? Yes, this thing can go off-road. Yes, it is really good off-road. It can climb over practically anything. With the different drive modes in here, the multi-terrain select, the crawl control, the downhill assist control, there are a lot of goodies in this to make sure you've got traction in all situations. But there are those situations where you may just have to back up and turn around because you're going to drag your nose or your tail through an obstacle. I'm really intrigued at the dimensions on this pickup truck when it comes to off-roading. The approach and departure angles just don't really cut it for me. But then again, this is a massive pickup truck and there's only so much it can do anyway. If you're really serious about doing some off-roading, you need to shop in the Jeep Wrangler, Ford Bronco, or if you must have the Toyota badge, maybe a Toyota Tacoma or Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro, because those compact dimensions are going to be much better suited to off-road fun. It's not to say that this thing is not fun off-road. I found some trails that were just an absolute blast in this thing, and the near instantaneous torque of this hybrid powertrain system really made maneuvering them very fun. Most of them actually could be done in two-wheel drive, though you do have a lot of electronic gadgetry down here to save you from getting bogged down and stuck in many different drive modes and different terrain situations. So you may be wondering, what is this set to go up against? Is it a Raptor fighter? No. TRX fighter? Definitely not. ZR2 AT4X? Maybe, though the approach and departure angles are definitely going to nix this when you get into the really hairy stuff. This is really meant to go up against the Silverado Trail Boss, the Sierra AT4, the F-150 Trimmer, and the Ram 1500 Rebel. Toyota, at least as of right now, has no intentions of going against the Raptor or TRX. So they're really playing the Chevy game and going a little more crazy with a more mainstream offering. Though this one is really good and would give those others a run for their money, just as long as you don't have anything steep to climb. Oh, and did I mention how fast it is? So there has been a lot of fuss made about this new Toyota Tundra just because it's been so long since we've gotten a new Toyota Tundra. From its hybrid powertrain to its new coilover shock rear suspension, there are a lot of upgrades bringing this Tundra into the modern era. However, there are some interesting oversights, like absolutely no front tow hooks, recovery hooks, and the rather narrow approach and departure angle here, even on this top trim TRD Pro off-road model, that kind of have me and some others scratching our heads when it comes to its off-road intentions. If you really want to do some off-roading in a capable Toyota product, you may want to step down to the Tacoma or 4Runner just for their more compact dimensions. That is just a failure of how big full-size pickup trucks have gotten over the years. Not this truck in particular, although the Silverado and the Silverado ZR2 definitely have better approach and departure angles. If you want this bright orange solar octane, you are going to have to choose the TRD Pro model, and you will get the goodies like those 18-inch wheels and the Wild Peak tires. After spending some time on the website, the build and price part of Toyota's website, I'm thinking I may just get the limited and option it up with the TRD off-road package, because you get a lot of the goodies of this model at about a $10,000 price savings. So who is this TRD Pro for? Well, it's somebody who wants to see the world and be seen in this solar octane color. At just under $70,000, you're definitely making an investment with this one, and it's an investment that you want other people to see for sure. If you like this video and want to see more from us, be sure and hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you are notified every time we post a new video. If you want to see my family review, definitely stick around for that. You can also see what we were driving before it is here by finding us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all at GT Garage Talk. And our award-winning podcast is at gtgaragetalk.com, as well as links to everything else we do. But until next time, gearheads, bye. This truck can do it all. This truck can do it all. It doesn't have a toot button.